With the recent buff to the 180 RPM scout rifles, Tears of Contrition definitely feels decent in the PvP sphere. While things like Jade Rabbit and high impact pulse rifles are decent at the engagements that these precision frame scout rifles are commonly viable, they are by no means terrible and can definitely hold their own. Some perks that will be kept constant are corkscrew rifling, a pendant mag, and a full auto mod. When this becomes a feature, I'll swap to targeting adjuster or backup mag. Counterbalance isn't necessary since it is a precision frame scout rifle. With all that said, here are the timestamps for each of the rolls in the video. Perpetual motion opening shot and perpetual motion explosive payload. I don't like standing still at engagements as it means for easy pickings by the enemy. So these two rolls are excellent but have their own situations that benefit them. Opening shot allows for a more or less guaranteed hit on your first shot, which when followed up appropriately cuts the fight really short. This is a good thing, which lets you comfortably engage and peek shoot around most hand cannon ranges with ease. And by most here I really mean 120 and 140, however 180 RPM hand cannons are sort of in the meta now, so you might have to watch out for those. The other role, which is perpetual motion explosive payload, is excellent at messing with your opponent's aim. Also, side note here, enhanced explosive payload adds 5 additional range. This is a good thing because if you find yourself consistently engaging near or around 180 RPM hand cannon range, any and every card you bring to the table against your opponent just makes it that much easier to close out the fight. Well-rounded and opening shot. I still hold well-rounded in high regard as it is an extremely forgiving perk that can be activated rather easily. However, for a scout rifle, I have my own personal reservations against that, and here's why. Because you will lose one of your ways of activating it based on your charged melee playstyle. Meaning to say, things like throwing hammer or the finger snap on warlocks won't really work so well, whereas things like throwing knife or celestial fire are excellent. That aside, the benefits of handling stability and range are excellent benefits. And they definitely benefit Tears of Contrition, and if you use the healing grenade to give you well-rounded before you engage, you can basically have a super jacked up first opening shot because it stacks the range benefit of well-rounded with opening shots increased range and accuracy. So this makes it a really promising first shot engagement, however the rest really needs your own input to follow up. Well-rounded and explosive payload. Similar to what I've already mentioned in the last perk combination, well-rounded is excellent as it provides an increase to your range, stability and handling when you get a single stack and it's increased on the second stack. However, explosive payload is arguably a better choice since it not only messes with your opponent's aim, but also allows you to shoot behind cover for some, although trivial, splash damage. And this is definitely the better option of the two and frankly what I would pick if given the choice of the two. There's nothing much I can really say here because explosive payload speaks for itself. No distractions and opening shot. Now, this leans more into sniper territory, however this is a scout rifle, so it doesn't really matter since they're not really that far off. In terms of range, they both perform roughly similar anyways. Unlike the next role, this role is a rather average role and all I can say to leverage no distractions is to get your opening shot hit in before committing to the engagement or things will go south very quickly. Because you have to remember that no distractions leaves you vulnerable for the brief period before it procs. And during that brief period, if the enemy starts shooting you, you will take damage. And if you do not get your opening shot hit in first, well, you're basically a sitting duck waiting to die. No distractions and explosive payload. This is honestly top tier and I don't say it lightly. Having less flinch while aiming and having the ability to mess with your opponent's aim with explosive payload is just excellent. The only downside is leaving yourself exposed for the first second or so, which makes you vulnerable to most special weapons such as snipers or maybe ranged fusion rifles. The occasional Jotun will of course be very annoying, however, other than those special weapons, the only foreseeable threat here would be 140 RPM hand cannons or 120 RPM hand cannons. However, 120s aren't really that much of a factor if you can land your shots, leaving the most, well, obvious challenge to you being 140 RPM hand cannons. If you can master the use of this scout rifle, you will be in perfect shape and you most likely will be able to take on 140 RPM hand cannons with relative ease. For PvE, I love using triple tap and 4th times the charm as the go-to option. The enhanced traits make it more forgiving between shots for 4th times the charm, while enhanced triple tap removes the need to land rapid consecutive precision hits, making it excellent for sustained fire. In fact, I have an Aisha's Embrace with those 2 perks and it works wonders in GM Nightfalls. If you don't like triple tap or 4th times the charm, you can slap on Focus Fury or Vorpal Weapon for greater damage values, and both of them definitely work as well. For the verdict, no distractions and opening shot comes last because of how vulnerable you will be if you miss your first shot. That is followed by well-rounded and opening shot and well-rounded explosive payload, which doesn't really suit my style of play by leveraging abilities when you are playing at range. Both Perpetual Motion Opening Shot and Explosive Payload are tied as they have nice niches where they may benefit, with the overall winner being no distractions and Explosive Payload, which is both consistent and very forgiving to use. In my opinion, 180 RPM scout rifles can be used in mid to long ranges, which really change which perks will benefit your playstyle. With longer ranges benefiting no distractions and closer ranges favoring perpetual motion, it is hard to really consider where on the scale of play does well-rounded effectively fall into, other than the close range, which leaves you very vulnerable to fusion rifles, SMGs, and sidearms. So be very careful when you use them in close range. They may have been buffed, but that won't save you when you stare down the barrel of a shotgun. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It took me a while because on the first week of Solstice, I was having fun with the Dreamwalk perk, and I haven't been feeling well the last few days, which halted the video's creation. I appreciate all of you who have stopped by, and as always, a huge thank you to all of you who have supported my style of content by watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.